Hello, I'm Captain John Cardaci, Vice Chairman of the FedEx Master Executive Council. Here with me today is PATH Coordinator Kandy Bernskoetter. Kandy, good afternoon.
Hi.
You know, you've done a lot for the union, and I can't thank you enough, and I say that to you a lot. Tell me, how did you get started?
When I was a new hire in 2004, I saw a poster on the wall in the training building that Captain Al Haynes was going to come speak at World Headquarters. If that name isn't familiar, he was the captain of Flight United 232 in Sioux City, Iowa. That was the DC-10 that had the catastrophic number 2 engine failure, cut the hydraulic lines. And his team of 3 plus a check airman from the back coordinated, landed the airplane. We all know a lot of people did die, but he saved a lot of lives. And he credited the Critical Incident Response Program at ALPA with not just saving his career and his job, but saving his life. And that was an extremely powerful statement to me.
Yeah, and I think that all of us, we all got a lot from what he did and how he did it. You hold a lot of positions. You've done a lot for the union. Can you go over some of the things that you've done and the positions you've held?
Well, I started out in Critical Incident Response Program, or CIRP, where I've been the Vice Chairman and the Chairman. I've been the Pilot Assistance Vice Chairman, and I'm currently the coordinator of the Pilot Assistance Team Hotline, our new program. We call it PATH. I do work in the ALPA Education Committee on the national level, mentoring the college students at the aviation universities, and I do some community service as well.
Right. You work for the zoo too, right? With the zoo?
I do. I'm a docent at the Memphis Zoo. I've been doing that for 12 years.
So that's all you do? That's it?
That's not it, but yeah.
You know, I want our viewers to know too, in times when there's hurricanes, blizzards, and floods, the first thing I get is a call from Kandy, hey, our crew members are okay or they're not okay. And she's the one, when you get a text caster, it's Kandy and our comm specialist, Courtney Bland, that puts that out. So I wanted the group to know, and we appreciate that, so thank you. All right, so the PATH program, okay? How did that start? And again, PATH stands for? Pilot
Assistance Team Hotline. We've been trying to get a program like PATH at FedEx for a very long time, back in the late 2000s, but it didn't really come to fruition until the last couple of years. I basically copied the program at Delta. Their Pilot Assistance Network, or PAN, is the exact same program. And Delta's had that program for over 10 years. It was before the Northwest merger. They even had their hotline program. And I went to Delta's training early last year and saw how the structure was set up and how the training is done. And I brought it back to FedEx and just really modeled a program after theirs.
Okay, so you went after the Delta program, brought it here.
Yeah.
Give me an example of why somebody might call PATH.
Well, we're there for, really it was a niche that wasn't being fulfilled in another committee. We're there for your aeromedical questions, your physiological, psychological, chronic issues at home and in family life and at work, your stress issues and things like that. So it's a little different than some of the other committee structures, and we wanted a place that pilots could call and get help for those issues and get those questions answered.
Okay, so who would I call?
How it works is you call the ALPA office, our MEC office here in Memphis. If you're in the United States, you can call 866-FDX-ALPA. Outside the United States, you have to use the 901 number, 901-752-8749. I hope most pilots have that somewhere in their phones. It's really handy for all sorts of other things as well, so maybe you'll add that in. But even when the office is open, it goes to voicemail. If it's office hours and you want to speak to someone, press 0 and you'll go to the receptionist. But then the message continues on, and there'll be a queue for going to the Pilot Assistance Team Hotline, or PATH. And you press that key, and then you go to our third-party vendor, which we had to have, and I'll explain that in a minute. The third-party vendor will then answer the call and put the pilot on hold while they find the pilot peer to talk to.
Right. I can stop you there for a second, because in the past, there was a problem with being on hold. People thought they were dropped offline, right? So it could take a while to get through to.
It could, and I mean, I think pilots will understand why we can't do shift work. There's only 14 pilot peers. We all have, you know, a different schedule every month. The way our system form is at FedEx, we fly at different times of the day and night around the world. So it was too hard to do assigned shift work. So just like at Delta, we modeled it where we have a call list that rotates with the peer names. And if the first peer isn't available, they go to the next number and call the next number until they find someone. So it might take a minute or two. So I ask pilots that call, just be patient while they're waiting to get connected. But you should always get a live person. If you they offer to take a message or you get disconnected, that is not the result that should be happening. So please do call back.
So the key is just have patience, right, and wait for it.
Yeah.
What kind of questions would a pilot peer answer?
Well, we're not subject matter experts, and there's just no way to be, because we'd have to be a benefits expert and a retirement insurance expert and an aeromedical expert and a licensed psychologist and everything else along the line. But we know who the experts are. So it can be any question that falls into those categories, anything from you just need the phone number to the ALPA Aeromedical Office or to the Pilot Benefits Administration, or maybe you have a new diagnosis for yourself or someone in your family and you don't know what to do next, or if there's a benefit that we have or services that may help you and your family. Or it could be something, even more serious where you need some help and you're not really sure who to call next.
Okay, all right, on that note, take me through the process. I feel I have a problem, I have an issue, I call the number, I wait, I get a hold of, let's say I get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what's next?
Well, I would just say, hi, this is Kandy, and I would remind you the call is confidential. It's confidential, except, of course, we all understand the exception. If you made a threat to yourself or someone else, we would have to break the confidentiality, but everything else you tell us stays between us on the phone call. And I would just say, hey, what's going on? And give you a chance to ask your question or talk. We're really good listeners, and sometimes that's what some people need.
Okay, great. Now, the FDAs, is there the same setup in the FDAs as we have here?
Well, the FDA pilots can call the 901 number and talk to whoever is available, but they also have, each FDA has a specialist there. They can call directly. We recognize the FDA has unique issues, and also you kind of operating on a separate time zone than Memphis, that maybe it would be best to have a specialist in base. So in Hong Kong, pilots can directly call Captain Michelle Carson, and in Cologne, pilots can directly call Captain Nick Richardson.
Okay. You talked a little bit about the conversations being confidential, right? Yeah. Is there ever a case where the company's going to call you up and say, hey, somebody contacted you, can you tell me about that? What happens then? Well,
if the company does that, I can't stop them from doing that, but no, we wouldn't engage with them at all. And a matter of fact, I wouldn't even tell you the name of a pilot that called PATH. I would only know if I took the call myself anyway who calls, because we don't know who calls. We don't see your incoming phone number because it goes through our third party, so your number drops away. So I wouldn't even know who called unless I particularly took the call, and no, I wouldn't even say I was engaged with that particular pilot. That to me would be breaking the confidentiality. I don't even like to talk about the subject matter of calls except in very vague ways, because I don't want a call to be able to be traced back to a particular pilot. So when I talk about the broad spectrum of types of calls, I don't like to get too specific because it could lead to somebody figuring out who might have called in the past.
And that's important that people know that it is confidential.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm trying to stress here. Yeah. What other benefits are there to PATH?
What's great about it is it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I know for me, sometimes I have sort of a pressing question, and it's Saturday at 3 in the afternoon. You have to wait Monday morning at 8 a.m. to get your answer. Oh, it's really frustrating to wait. I think as pilots, sometimes we are reluctant to ask for help, and we wanted somebody available when the pilot was willing to ask the question. So we are open all the time.
Okay, in the past, CIRP took care of these things. What's the difference now between somebody calling for PATH, help through the PATH program, or CIRP? What can you tell me about that?
CIRP handled these calls in cases because there was really no other committee or group that was able to handle them. CIRP peers are trained to deal with stress and trauma following an incident or accident that's work-related. So an airplane accident, an incident in the airplane, a work-related death or injury of a crew member on a trip or on a layover. That's what CIRP is trained for, and that's what they specialize in, a particular crisis event. We wanted something to help pilots out for those chronic issues, stress issues, getting a divorce is stressful, long-term disability or illness of a family member, things like that, and that's what PATH is all about. However, pilots have to call us. We don't know what's going on with you unless you call in and tell us and ask for help, and that's sort of the hard part. A friend can call on behalf of a pilot, and we'd be glad to give that person as much information as we can, but we don't make outgoing calls. the pilot has to buy in. It has to be ready to get the help, and in order to do that, they need to call us. Also, a third party telling us what's going on with the pilot may upset the pilot that's going through the issue, thinking their confidentiality was broken by the friend, and we don't want to cause any extra stress. So hopefully the friend can get the pilot to call us, or the information we can give to the pilot will help them. But pilots, we're trying to encourage you all to call us when you need help.
You want the buy-in, right?
Yeah, we have no other way of knowing.
So, right, so
Yeah.
the best thing a friend can do is convince the other person, give PATH a shot, right?
Yeah,
Give them
absolutely.
see if they can help
you have nothing to lose because of the confidentiality.
Right. Well, is there ever a case where you would have to report something to the FAA? Should our pilots be worried about that?
Not to the FAA. Again, any threat, we'd have to call the appropriate authorities. But this isn't a reportable FAA thing, like if you were seeing a therapist or a counselor. This isn't something you put on your medical, because we're not therapists. That's the other bonus. We're just good listeners. We're peers. We're line pilots, just like the pilots calling in. And so those calls are not reportable to the FAA on your medical.
Okay. Is there anything else our pilots should know about the program?
I just hope that more people utilize it when they need help, and share, if you don't need the help, let other pilots know about it. Maybe start getting it talked about. We're going to put a comm piece out on pfc.com with Captain Rob Fisher to kind of remind pilots it's available. So just keep getting the word out there and letting people know that there are people here ready to help you, and also keep your confidentiality.
Okay, Kandy, so if a volunteer wants to contact you, how would they go about doing that?
Send me an email to my ALPA email, kandy.bernskoetter@alpa.org, or they can call my cell phone number. I am also listed in VIPS.
Okay, thank you very much for your
Thank
time. For more information, please visit fdx.alpa.org or contact your block rep. We'll see you soon.